Hello everyone, welcome to part 9 of this series on AutoCAD. In this session, we will continue with learning the modifying tools in AutoCAD. We will learn how to use scale, mirror, trim, and extend in AutoCAD. I will be explaining in details how to use these important tools in AutoCAD. So, let's get started. Alright, the first tool we'll be learning how to use is how to use scale. Now, to use scale actually means to enlarge an object. Now, probably you have drawn an object and it's looking small. You want to make it look bigger. You want to make it look bigger, so you will need to scale the object. So you should note that scale actually affects the dimension of the object. So for instance, now you have drawn a line of length 2 centimeter. So when you scale the object times 4, it becomes 8 centimeter. So now let's learn how to use scale. So I'm going to start by drawing just a random object, just an object. So I'm going to draw an arrow by picking some points. Then I'm going to close it. All right, so now I want to use scale tool, scale modifying tool to enlarge the size of this arrow. So now I'm going to follow the procedure. I click on scale tool. I check the command line for instruction. On the command line, it says select object. So I'm going to select the object. So make sure you use any method of selection to select the object. Now, when you are done with your selection, press enter on your keyboard. Press enter. So I've said this previously, that once you are done selecting an object, when you are using your modifying tool, you are told to select object. Once you are done with your selection, always remember to press enter or spacebar on your keyboard. Pressing enter or spacebar signifies, is a way of telling the software AutoCAD that you are done with your selection. All right, so now I'm going to press enter. Now, when I press enter, it says specify base point. Now, the word base point here, you have been seeing it often. We saw it when we use move, we saw it when we use copy, we saw it when we use rotate. So now base point actually has different meaning in AutoCAD. So now I'm going to pick my base point. So base point, you will notice that base point is the fixed point. Now you have different points on this object. So now if I, for instance, now I pick this point as my base point, so I'm going to click on this point. Now, when you're looking at the command line, it says specify scale factor. Specify scale factor. Now, scale factor, so there are two ways you can do this. You can do it geographically, you can do it graphically, or you can do it with dimension. So now, if it says specify scale factor, if I want to use the dimension method, I can say 0.5. So by saying 0.5, all I mean is that you should reduce the scale by half. So I say I enter 0.5 and I'm going to press enter to accept my input. Now when I press 0.5 and I press enter, you can see that the object became smaller because I've said 0.5 means reduce it by half. 0.5. Now I need you to notice something about that base point. You will see that you will notice that that base point I chose remains the same from the initial object and the final object. The base point remains the same. Now, what I mean in essence is that the object became smaller towards the base point. It became smaller towards the base point. So I'm going to Control Z to undo. Control Z to undo. Now I'm going to do it differently now. So I'm going to be using scale again. Select objects. Use any method of selection. Green box, blue box, individual selection. Okay. I've done my selection. Don't forget, press enter or spacebar on your keyboard. Now base points. Now this time I'm going to pick this point as my base point. Now by picking that particular point, it means that it's going to get smaller or bigger. Now it's going to get smaller towards the base point or bigger away from the base point. So if I say 2 now, 2 as my scale, enter. Okay, I think I typed something else. All right, let me do that part again. So scale, select objects, enter. Now specify base point. So I'm picking this point as my base point and I'm using a scale factor of 2. So when I press enter, now you can see that it became bigger, but this time away from the base point. Away from base point. So your base point can either get smaller towards the base point or bigger away from the base point. So the base point is actually a reference point. Now your choice of base point is very important. Your choice of base point. is very important. So now you will know that anywhere can actually be my base point. So depending on the result you want, depending on the result you are trying to achieve, depending on how you want the skill to be positioned at the end of the day, that can inform your choice of your base point. So you can actually choose anywhere as your base point, provided you understand the concept that it's either get smaller towards a base point or enlarged away from the base point. So once you know that, you can use your scale properly. So scale again, select object, press enter, specify base point. I'm picking here this time. Now, instead of doing it instead of doing it with dimension, I'm going to do it graphically. So graphically, you can see without putting any value, I'm just trying to move my mouse to determine what the new position, what the new scale factor is going to be. So I'm doing this graphically using my mouse. I'm not using dimension this time. All right, so now that's another way to use scale. All right, so at this point, we'll move on to the next modifying tool, which is mirror. Mirror. Now let's learn our next modifying tool, mirror. Mirror is very important in AutoCAD. You want to mirror an object, you have an existing object, you can decide to create a mirror image of your original object. Now, okay, let's follow the procedure. Now, I click on mirror. I look to my command line to check the instruction. It says select object. On my command line, select object. Now I'm going to select my object. We've learned how to select objects. Then I told you after selecting object, you press enter. Now looking at the command line, there is an instruction that says specify first point of mirror line. Specify first point of mirror line. So I'm going to pick just any point here. Now command line changes again. It says specify second point of mirror line. Okay, so I'm trying to pick my second point now. So you will notice that as I'm trying to pick my second point now, it's trying to change the new object, the position of the new object. So let me just pick a point here. Now I've picked another point there. Looking at the command line again, it's asking a question, erase source object, yes or no. So this is our source object. Do you want to erase it, yes or no? I don't want to erase it, so I'm going to click on no or type enter. All right. Okay, so now what we have now is we have used mirror to mirror this original object. Now we are having this new object. So I've been able to use mirror. Now you observe something about mirror. Mirror is different from copy. Now, looking at mirror, you will see that the objects are facing opposite direction. They are facing opposite direction because, and also you will also observe that there was a mirror line. There was an imaginary mirror line that was drawn here. So just like the way our mirror works in the real life, in the actual sense. Now, when you have an object, you place the mirror at a distance. The new object, the mirrored object, will be at the same distance away from the mirror in the other direction. So the same concept. So there was an imaginary line that served as our mirror in between these two objects. There was an imaginary line that we drew, that we picked point for, that about which the mirror was able to create. So that's how to use mirror. So now I'm going to try and use mirror again. Let me delete it again and repeat the procedure. Now I click on mirror, select object, following command line, don't forget, select object, use any method of selection. You are done selecting, press enter. Specify first point of mirror line. Now you can see specify first point. If it says first point, just know that there's going to be a second point. And you are picking a line. You are drawing a line. A line has two endpoints. So specify first point of mirror line. You are still going to see another instruction that will say specify second point of mirror line. So these 2 points now will determine the position of your mirror object. Now specify first point. I can pick a point here. Now I'm trying to specify second point. Now you will notice that the distance between this mirror line, which in the original sense served as our mirror, the distance between this mirror line and this object is the same distance between the mirror line and the other objects. You will notice that it's equally distant from the mirror line. So now the way you draw your mirror line is very important. How this mirror line, the direction and the position of this mirror line is actually very important in creating the mirror you want. So now anywhere, pick anywhere. Now I've clicked. Now it's asking me specify. Do you want to erase object, yes or no? So you can go ahead and click on no. All right. So by doing that, now I've been able to create a mirror of my original object. So that's how to use mirror. in AutoCAD. All right, so the next thing we're going to try and look at now is how to use trim and extend. Trim and extend. Trim and extend are two important modifying tools in AutoCAD. Now, trim and extend. Now, if you come to this region, you will see your trim and your extend. You click on this arrow. So in case you are seeing extend here, all you need to do is just click on the arrow, then you'll be able to see trim. So whether trim or extend. So now these tools are grouped together because they have there is a condition that applies to them. When you are using trim and extend, there must be a boundary. You must have something that serves as a boundary. For instance, now I'm going to draw a rectangle. So inside the rectangle, I'm going to draw some lines. I'm going to draw lines. Okay, all right. Then I click on erase. Escape. Now you can look at it this way. Let's look at this rectangle as a piece of cloth. A piece of rectangular cloth. Then we have some fibers, some cloth fibers coming out from that piece of cloth. Let's look at this line as some piece of cloth fibers coming out from the cloth. All right, so now you want to trim off. Now we are looking at trim now. Now you want to be able to use your scissors to trim off this boundary. Following this boundary, you want to be able to trim off this excess material away from your clothes. So you can look at trim. I'm just giving an illustration. You can look at trim that way. So trim is used to remove excess material. Excess material. And when you are doing that, there has to be a defined boundary. Trim is used to remove excess objects, and it has to be a boundary. For instance, now you can see that this line extends outside and it also goes inside inside the rectangle. So this line here, which is the side of the rectangle, is serving as my boundary so that you know where to stop. When I'm trimming this object, to know where to stop. So now when you are using trim is used to remove excess objects that is away from the boundary. That's what trim is used to do. So now there is a simple way which we can use trim. A very simple way we can use trim. Now I don't, when I'm working on trim, I don't necessarily follow the command line. I don't necessarily follow the command line. I have some few steps I need to do my trimming, and it gives me, it works all the time. It works all the time. So now all you need to do is click on trim, then press enter on your keyboard. Just press enter, then select the unwanted part of the object. Select the unwanted part. Mind you, we have said this line is our boundary. So by me selecting the unwanted parts, I know these are my unwanted parts because I know this line here is serving as my boundary. So unwanted parts are parts that are away from the boundary. So this works all the time without even looking at the command line. Without looking at the command line, I can just keep on doing this. So now you can see that I've been able to remove excess fibers away from the clothing material. So that's using trim. So I'm going to Ctrl Z and do this all over again. Okay, so trying to repeat my explanation, we have a rectangle serving as our clothing materials. We have pieces of fibers. Now I want to use scissors to cut away these unwanted materials outside the clothing materials. So that illustration is just for using trim. So I click on trim, I press enter on my keyboard, then I select the unwanted material. Use any method of selection. It takes away those unwanted material. Very easy, straightforward, and it works all the time. Escape to cancel it. All right, so that's just my simple way of using trim. Now, the next tool we want to look at is extend tool. Extend. So there's a relationship between using trim and using extend. So while you are using extend is used in a situation where we have a shortage. A situation where we have a shortage. While trim is for excess, extend is for opposite. Trim is for excess, extend is for shortage. Now, the same condition applies. There has to be a boundary. So now when we are talking about a shortage, it means that it has to, probably the object needs to get to an expected point, but it's not getting there. So you need extend to be able to bring it forward to the expected point. So that expected point is what is serving as your boundary. All right, so now to use extend, we are going to follow the same procedure we have used for trim, which is number one, step one, click on your extend. Step two, press enter on your keyboard. Then step three, select the object you want to extend. Now you will notice that this line is extending to the next object in the front. The next object in the front is serving as the boundary. So to keep on extending. Now at this point, there is no more line, there is no more object in the front, so it can't go any further. So now by keep on clicking on my point, you see that the line keeps extending. So far there is an object in the front, it will keep moving forward. So that's one way of using extend. Very simple way. So it's not going to go again because there is no longer an object. So the condition for using extend is that there must be a boundary in the front. So you can see how those lines keeps on going. So extend is used when there is a shortage and you want to kind of increase the length of your line. So, but note there must be a boundary in the front that's going to decide where it's going to stop. So those are very simple ways of using trim and extend. Click on the trim, press enter on your keyboard and select the object you need to select to get it done. All right, thank you for joining this video. If you enjoy it, remember to comment. You can ask your questions on the comments. I will be glad to respond. Or you can like this video, subscribe to this video to support this work, and share this video with your friend. Thank you. See you in the next video.